All right, so now that you have finished your species ID module, it's time to talk about how to actually go about conducting your surveys for road research and how to stay safe while doing so. Before we get into the details of the procedure guidelines and all our safety rules, let's talk about why we're here. Why do turtles need our help? To look at the whole wide world and the picture of how turtles are doing globally, let's consider the stat that the United Nations Conservation Branch, which is the ICUN, put out last year in 2019. They summarized that of all the turtles and tortoises assessed, 2/3 of them are either vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct, or extinct in the wild. 2/3 of all turtles and tortoises assessed were given one of those categories. That's a pretty bleak picture. And here in Ontario, things are no different. All of our Ontario turtles are in decline and at risk of disappearing. 7 of the 8 turtle species here in the land between have a legal status that grants them special protection because they are declining so fast. So they are considered species at risk. One of the major threats that most of our turtle species face here in Ontario and in the land between is road mortality. So turtles travel along roads for various reasons during nesting season to find nests, to cross roads to get from one wetland to another, to get back to their hibernating grounds in the fall for winter time. They are crossing roads and they are being injured or killed. And this is really decimating populations of our turtle species. So by doing this program and researching where along roads and what roads there is the most mortality or injury rates of turtles, we can identify turtle hotspots and hopefully start to create some solutions and develop strategies to help mitigate this road mortality in the spots where it's happening at the highest here in our region. So what you're going to be doing is really important, and hopefully you will be able to help us reduce more road mortality here in the land between. This map is depicting road density in the land between. Red areas have the highest road density and green areas have the lowest road density. I want you to close your eyes and try and picture a grid with each grid representing 1 kilometer squared. So each grid is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. Within every single one of those grid squares is 780 meters of road. So each grid square is 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters. And we have in each one of those squares at least 780 meters of road on average throughout the whole land between. That's a lot of road, and that's in an area that we consider less populated in Ontario cottage country. So as you can see with that picture in your brain, road density is high here in the land between, even though it is still much lower than regions south of us in southern Ontario, like the GTA. So when turtles are moving amongst their habitat from wetland to wetland, they're encountering a lot of road. All right, so before we get into the fine details, I just wanted to give you an overview of the highlights you can expect to experience in the Road Researcher Citizen Science program. So you will get to do a walking survey or a driving survey, whatever your group prefers, of your own selected route once a week. You're going to be looking for turtles as well as snakes, and you're going to record every turtle you find on the Turtle Guardian app or on your field data sheet. You're also going to help any turtles that are on the roads or crossing the roads to keep them safe. You will be trained how to do this properly, and you're going to alert the START hotline, which stands for Saving Turtles at Risk Today, of turtles that need our help. So that would be injured turtles, nesting turtles, and then two species of turtles that we are really interested in getting some more information on because they are very at risk of disappearing. So those would be our spotted and blanding turtles. We're going to get into much more detail in the following slideshow, but just to give you a snapshot of where we're going. So I'd like to provide you with a bit of helpful background information when it comes to some relevant turtle behavior because it helps explain why we are finding turtles along the roads when we do. So first off, nesting. So female turtles lay their nests here in the land between, and generally in central Ontario, from the end of May to the middle of July. They like to lay their nests in ground that is soft and easy for them to dig a nest cavity and then cover the nest back up. So that can include sand, gravel, any type of loose dirt or soil, and sometimes this will even consist of soft road shoulders. So they might be laying their nest right along the road, sometimes even in the middle of a road if it's a back road that's made of dirt or gravel. So because they will travel great distances to find their nesting sites, this could mean that one turtle is crossing over many roads every single year because these turtles will often return to the same site every year to lay their nest. So all of a sudden we realize that female turtles are much more at risk for road mortality and road injury because they are traveling on land and they are traveling to these same nest sites every year, whereas their male counterparts are for the most part staying in their water bodies and home wetlands during this time. So this is important because what it helps us realize is that when we're conducting road research during nesting season, we are helping collect data and helping save female adult turtles who are so important to keeping the populations going because they are the ones that are laying eggs and replacing themselves. It's also important to remember that it's not only the female turtles laying the eggs that are at risk, but of course it is then the actual nest itself that is laid in a road shoulder that is now vulnerable to being pulled over on by a vehicle and crushed. And then those eggs won't hatch. Also, if the eggs do hatch, all those little hatchlings then have to make it across the road to the nearest wetland or water body without being hit by a car in order to survive. The other behavior that's important and relevant for us to understand would be how turtles navigate. So from a very young age, within hours after hatchlings hatch out of their eggs and exit their nests, they will start to make a mental map, so a picture inside their minds of all their surroundings. They continue to make this mental map for the first couple of years as they establish their home range. So as they select their nesting sites, as they select their places to overwinter, as they select their places that their home wetlands that they're going to be feeding in for the majority of the year, they will internalize those and make a mental map of that area. As turtles age, research suggests that they actually lose this ability to make a mental map. So once they have that mental map, it's solidified, and they then rely on their internal compass to navigate within this home range using their mental map. Possible theories for compass mechanisms in turtles are really interesting. So a lot of research points towards the fact that they either use the sun or they use the Earth's magnetic field. So when using the sun, what they look for is where the sun is positioned in the sky at what time of day, and this will tell them where west and east is because we know that the sun sets and rises in the same direction every day, so that will help them be able to navigate that way. Or there's also research that suggests that turtles either have a chemical in their brain called magnetite that essentially turns them into a magnet and allows them to be able to sense where north is, just like an actual compass. And then there's other research that suggests that they have a special protein in their eyeballs called cryptochromes, which are also found in some bird species, that actually allow them to visually see magnetic fields on the Earth's surface, and this is another way that they can sense the magnetic fields and point towards where north is. So we're not entirely sure which mechanisms each turtle species uses here in Ontario. It could be likely a combination of both or all three. And so what is important for us to remember is that turtles are on a mission. They are intentionally navigating at all times. They know where they're going. They have a map. They have an internal compass. So when we find a turtle, we need to remember not to disorient them or disturb them. And whenever we help a turtle cross the road, we need to help them in the direction that they were traveling so that we continue them along their path. Because if we remove them from their path, they're going to get confused and this will really stress them out. And if we move them over to the other side of the road, they're just going to turn around and try to travel back in the direction they were traveling. What else is important, and what else the other sort of aspect that this means is that when a turtle is injured and we remove it from its home range to bring to a turtle hospital, for example, we need to really remember and really take accurate GPS coordinates for where we remove that turtle so that when that turtle is released, it can be released back at that same location so it can be put back into its home range, because later in life, they are much less able to recreate a new home range and a new mental map because they seem to lose that ability to make a new mental map. They don't lose their internal compass, but it seems, research suggests, that they only are able to make that mental map within their first few years. Evidence also suggests that they seem to follow the actual same paths year after year. So year after year, it seems that snapping turtles, for example, take the same path from their home wetland to their nest and back every single year. So if we are finding hotspots along roads where turtles are constantly encountering cars, what we can do is actually protect those turtles for the rest of their lives because they're likely crossing that same road every single year. So we have included a really exhaustive list of all the things that you will need on your road research survey. And this can be found in your volunteer protocol document, your road research protocol document, which is found in your volunteer package that you would have received in email. It's the big document that essentially has all the safety information and all the instructions for how to conduct your surveys. So that's what this slideshow was made off of. So it kind of supplements that document, but that's definitely the key document that you want to make sure you've read and bring with you into the field. But on this slide, we see some photos of some of the things that you definitely want to bring with you. So you're for sure going to have your high visibility vest or jacket, and you're going to be wearing that in the car or when you're walking, because even if you're doing a driving survey, you are going to be getting out of the car onto the road shoulder to look at the turtles that you drive by. So you do need to have your high-vis vest whether you're doing a driving survey or a walking survey. Some other important safety items to bring with you would be sunscreen and a sun hat, water to stay hydrated, snacks are always a good idea as well, and then a bug jacket is also an awesome idea just to keep yourself safe from bugs, and then a first aid kit in the car is also recommended, as well as closed-toed shoes while walking on roads. Things that you will need to bring with you to do the actual monitoring include a clipboard and pencil with all the documents that you need. So that would be your turtle ID sheets, which will help you ID any turtle that you come across, the protocol package, so that big document I was talking about. You also need to bring your decision tree, which we're going to look at later in this slideshow, which will help you sort of guide through each action you would need to take once you find a turtle. And then your data sheets. So those sheets are going to be where you write down the data if you're not submitting your data online into a device using the Turtle Guardians app. You're going to want to bring your bin. So here we have a big Rubbermaid tote picture. It's blue. You're going to need a bin like that in your trunk in case you do come upon an injured turtle. You're going to put an old towel at the bottom of it and place your injured turtle in there so that The start team can either come and collect that turtle and bring her to the nearest turtle hospital, or so that you are able to do that if that's what's needed. You're also going to want to have with you a nest cage. So this is a special thing that you will place on top of a turtle nest if it is safe to do so, to protect that nest. So we'll talk about when you know if a nest is safe to cage, but essentially it has to be somewhere where a vehicle will not drive on top of. And that's what you want to bring with you. You also need a GPS. So if you have a GPS app on your phone, you're set to go. If not, you need to bring a separate GPS with you, because you need to be recording GPS points for each turtle. When conducting a driving survey for turtles, it's important that it's the passenger that is scanning along the sides of the road and the road for turtles and snakes. When looking for turtles, look for anything that is round and shiny and still or moving slowly. It might look like a rock. Make sure to look for shell fragments if possible along the road, as well as dead and injured turtles along the sides of the road, and not just turtles actually crossing the road. Once you see a turtle, it's important to not get too excited and pull over right away onto the turtle. Make sure to do a proper shoulder check and only pull over when you're not impeding traffic and it is safe to do so. Pull over all the way off the road and put your hazards on, and before exiting the vehicle, make sure there is no cars coming. Turn your car off, make sure all doors are closed, and keep your flashers on. Don't approach the turtle too closely at first if it is along the side of the road. Take a picture and put its data into the Turtle Guardians app, which would be its species, behavior, and anything else it cues you for. If you don't have a smartphone or you don't want to use the Turtle Guardians app, you can do the option that Emma is doing here, where you record your data manually onto a field data sheet and then transcribe it later online. If the turtle starts to cross the road, when it is safe to do so and no cars are coming, you can help it cross the road in the direction it was heading using the proper grip that you will learn in this slideshow. While conducting a walking survey, make sure you're wearing your orange, bright, high visibility vests and that you're walking along the side of the road facing oncoming traffic, so cars that are coming can see you. Make sure you're all on the same side of the road and that you're far off the road, and even the road shoulder if possible. And if the road shoulder is very narrow, you want to make sure that you're walking in single file to stay safe. Once you come upon a turtle, you're going to stay far away from the turtle at first to take a picture and record data, just like you did on a driving survey. You can do this on the app or on your field data sheet. And then if necessary, to help the turtle, you can approach it if it starts to cross the road, as our little turtle friend does here. You're going to, of course, check both ways before you proceed, and then you're going to carry it using the proper grip in the direction that it was traveling across the road safely. All right, so here we have the key document that is going to help guide you through all the decisions you need to make when you're out in the field on your road survey and you come upon a turtle. It's called your volunteer decision tree, and it's included in your volunteer package. It's a couple different pages, and it's basically set up to be really intuitive, and hopefully you will find it intuitive. So this first page generally breaks down your decisions based off whether you find a turtle that is alive, injured, or dead. So let's go through it here. So I guess we'll start off with worst case scenario. So if you were to find a dead turtle, you would follow the action process here, and you would see, first off, all right, if necessary, you're going to move it off the road and onto the shoulder so you can take photos of it and identify it safely. Of course, you're only going to do that when it's safe, so you're going to look both ways, make sure there's no oncoming traffic. Then you're going to take a photo and use the Turtle Guardians app and upload this photo, and you're going to record all the information you're prompted for with the app. So that would be species, location, and any other information it asks for. The next step that you're going to do is you're going to try and determine if the turtle is gravid, which means does it have eggs in its belly. So now we come to, as you can see here, our first little box with a purple box beside it. So these purple boxes that have D and then a number all stand for like decision 8. And those purple squares all relate to a specific description that's included in your protocol document. Under the section decision description. So any little box with a purple square, you can refer to your protocol document and see and look for some extra help about how to make that decision. So if you want to know how to tell if a turtle has eggs in its belly or not, you would refer to that decision description. Making this decision is sort of based on what kind of training you've had. So if you are a general volunteer who has not received specialized training at Scales Turtles Boot Camp, you're essentially just going to look to see if there are any eggs around the turtle's body, if you can see into the turtle because there has been a lot of damage to her shell or to her body and you can see eggs in there, then you're going to choose the option that she is gravid. And if you don't see any of this of eggs or you can't see into her body, you're going to assume she's not gravid. If you haven't got the specialized training, if you have received the specialized training from Scales, you can carry on with your procedure of feeling to see if you feel any eggs in her tummy. So if she does have eggs, you are going to be calling start, texting a picture to the hotline and awaiting further instruction. If you were specialized training, you would be putting her into a bin. That's basically just based on specific permission that we have under certain permits. So those people that have received specialized training are on our research permits. We're calling the difference between these types of volunteers would be level 4 and level 3. So our general volunteers who are doing this online training, you would be considered level 3. So you're going to call start and you are going to await further instruction. If you are a level 4 volunteer, which means you have received specialized training at Scales Nature Park, you would be under our research permit, so you would be allowed to place the turtle in the bin with her eggs in the bin. All right, so what if she does not seem to have any eggs? Well, now it matters based on what species she is. If she is a snapping, painted, musk, or mac turtle, then you're going to discreetly remove her off the road and shoulder. So you want to remove her far off the road and shoulder, basically because if someone else was to come along who's also doing a road survey, we don't want that turtle to be double counted. So we want to remove her, or him, it could be a him, completely off the road. However, if it's a blandings or spotted, we are going to call because the start hotline will likely want some specific information about that individual. So we are going to call them. Again, there are some different instructions if you're a specialized volunteer. All right, so now we're going to go back up and we're going to see what we would do if we find an injured turtle. So if we were to find an injured turtle, if they are on the road, then we are going to move it off the road when it is safe to do so. And we're going to place this animal in a box with a clasping lid. So in this case, you don't have to be a specialized volunteer because anyone is allowed to remove a species at risk from a dangerous situation. So you're removing them out of harm's way. You don't need to be on a research permit for that. So you can put her or him into a dry Tupperware container with a clasping lid. You can put an old towel at the bottom of it for the turtle's comfort, but you don't want to have any water in the bin and you don't want to give it any food. You are going to call the start hotline right away, text them a picture, and you're also going to take that same photo, upload it to the Turtle Guardians app, and record its species, where you found it, and any other information you're prompted to record. Okay, so those are the two sad, not awesome scenarios. But then, of course, we're hopefully also, of course, going to be finding lots of live turtles. So we're going to scroll over here to the left. We see that our turtle is alive. Now, the next big question is whether or not this turtle is nesting. So what we see here is the turtle laying on the ground with a pile of dirt behind her? Is she rocking back and forth or side to side slowly? So a nesting turtle, as you can see here, D5, is described in the decision description. It's also described, there's another decision description I forgot to mention here, of how to help an injured turtle across the road. Basically, you're going to carry them and support them in the best way possible, keeping all their limbs and pieces of carapace together as much as you can. So over here, how to tell if a nesting turtle is nesting is described in that protocol, but essentially if you say yes to any of these questions, you are looking at a nesting turtle. If you're going to say no, not rocking back and forth, not rocking side to side, not laying on the ground with the dirt behind her, okay, not nesting, we're going to continue down this path. So let's say that our turtle was not nesting, wasn't doing any of these things. All right, again, if necessary, we're going to move her off the road onto the road shoulder where it's safer for her and us. Now here you'll see 3 more decision descriptions, which is going to take you to the protocol document, and it's going to take you to the descriptions of how to help turtles cross the road safely. We're going to go through that later in the slideshow, so I'll save that, but it just requires sort of a proper grip depending on what species. Now, again, some things are different whether or not you're looking at a blandings or a spotted or any of the other species. That's because our blandings and spotted are more at risk of disappearing. They're more critically in danger. So we are really interested in finding out some key information on them. These guys are also at risk of disappearing, but they are declining less quickly than our blandings and our spotted. So if it's a snapping turtle, a painted turtle, an eastern musk turtle, which is a stinkpot, or a map turtle, we are just going to be taking that photo, reporting it on the Turtle Guardians app, and filling in all the information. However, if it's blandings or spotted, we're going to be still reporting that species on the Turtle Guardians app, but we're going to be calling the Start hotline and texting them a photo as well. Now, if we were to go here and said that it was a nesting turtle, as you can see it says proceed to page 2, I found a nesting turtle, so we're going to do that. Alright, so we found a nesting turtle. Now we're going to follow these instructions. So it's telling us we need to stay at least 2 car lengths away. That's because turtles that are nesting are very scared. They're extra shy, they're extra skittish, so we don't want to startle a nesting turtle because she actually might abandon her nest, and we definitely don't want that. So staying 2 car lengths away, we're going to put a special sign that warns oncoming traffic that there is a nesting turtle on the shoulder of the road, so no cars pull over onto her or onto the nest. Now we are splitting off here. So if we are able to nest sit or unable to nest sit. So what that means is basically, are we able to wait with the turtle as she continues to nest until she's done? If yes, you're saying, yeah, you're able to nest sit. If not, you're going to follow this pathway. So we'll do this pathway first because it's shorter. So let's say you're not able to wait. You have something that you have to get to. You are not able to wait. So you're going to call the Start hotline, and they will be able to dispatch staff or volunteer nest sitters to come and watch the turtle. So you're going to need to definitely tell them what species you're looking at. You're going to describe as best as possible where you are. You're going to tell them if the nest is on the road shoulder or if it's outside of a guardrail or in a ditch, because that's going to help them know whether or not they're going to be digging up this nest at the end or if they're going to be caging it. So if you are able to at least continue supervising the turtle just until those staff or nest sitters arrive, you're going to stay. However, if you can't do this, you can leave, but you want to make sure you leave that sign, that reflective sign on the road shoulder, warning oncoming traffic, and also that will help the people coming, so the volunteers or staff coming, locate the turtle. So you're going to leave that sign for them, and they'll collect the sign when they arrive. Okay, so now let's go back over here. So let's say you are able to nest the turtle. What are you going to do? Same first thing, you're going to call the start hotline. You're going to tell them all that same information, where the nest is located, what species you're looking at, and any other questions that they might ask you. Then you're basically just going to relax and wait until that turtle is done nesting. And now this step's really important. As soon as that turtle is done nesting, you're going to mark that nest by putting a light, and I don't mean light as in color, but like a light as in not very heavy object immediately on top of the nest. So you could use like a glove or a baseball cap or anything that, like a small book, anything that you have in your car or on hand, that just sort of helps us remember exactly where that nest is. This is really important because you would be surprised at how easy it is to lose a nest and not know where it is, even though you've been waiting for that turtle to finish nesting for a few hours. Another thing that's important, you don't want to put anything to mark the nest that would stick through into the soil, because that could harm the eggs. So like a stick or a stake is not something that you want to do, because that could poke through. After you've marked the nest, you're going to take a photo of the turtle who was nesting and use the Turtle Guardian app to report her. Notice that we didn't do this ahead of time because we didn't want to get too close to the turtle. So we didn't want to disturb her when she was nesting. So you're going to wait till after to take that photo once she's done nesting. Then you're going to watch the turtle and see if she tries to cross the road. This is especially important because she's probably going to be exhausted and really tired. So she's not going to cross that road very quickly. So you're going to help her cross the road, remembering that here is some extra help for how to help a turtle cross the road, depending on what species she is. Now you're going to decide whether or not that nest is in a safe location to put a nest cage on. So this is another decision that has a special description that you can refer to in the document to basically just help you make that decision. We're going to talk about that later in the slideshow, so I won't get into detail. And then if it is safe to install the nest cage, you're going to do it. Here are some instructions for how to do that. And then if not, you are going to call start unless you are specially trained, in which case you can excavate or dig up the nest yourself. So lastly, you might come upon a predated nest. So again, there's another description here for how to know what a predated nest looks like. So you're going to ask yourself, are there any viable eggs left? So are there any eggs that haven't been destroyed? Any eggs that could still hatch? If no, okay, that's sad. Take a picture of the nest and a close-up of one of the broken eggs, just because we might be able to tell what type of species it is based on the egg, if the egg still sort of resembles somewhat of its original shape. You're going to text that picture to the start hotline. Then you're going to remove all eggshell remnants and discard them away from the road. Cover that nest hole with dirt so that that predated nest is not double counted by another road researcher. Now, in the happy chance that there are some viable eggs left, so some eggs that can still be saved and incubated and potentially hatched, you're going to call that start hotline and then await further instruction, unless you are specially trained, in which case you can touch the eggs, put them in a container, follow all the proper procedure, and make sure that they get to start safely. And then also, if you are trained, so another one of those specially trained volunteers, you can then use your nest excavation techniques to check if there are any other remaining eggs in the nest that didn't get eaten. The last page of this document is really for specialized volunteers, so I'm not going to go through that. You will have received very detailed training on this, but this is just a document for your disposal when you're in the field, just to double check that you're on the right course for digging up the nest and how to do that properly. But most of our volunteers who are just doing the online training will not have to worry about that. That will be the START staff that will be digging up the nest for you. Yeah, and that's your document. So it's should be pretty easy to use. The idea is that it can guide you through any decision that you might have to make, in addition with those decision descriptions that you have in your protocol document. All right, so when it comes to reporting your turtle data, there are two ways you can do this. The way that we prefer and the way that we sort of recommended or suggested in our decision tree that we just looked at was using the Turtle Guardians app. So this is a great app that has been created to help citizen scientists identify turtles in the field and then submit all the information that we need on our end. It's automatically uploaded to our database with GPS coordinates, so it's a really great way of collecting all of our data into one place. You don't have to do anything after the fact. As soon as you submit it, it comes to us. It's also going to prompt you with everything that you need. It has descriptions of each species with helpful photos, so it's a really great tool. If you are able to use it, then we'd ask that you do this. If you do not have access to a smartphone, or you, for whatever reason, are not comfortable using the app, that's fine. Then we have included a field data sheet for you to log all the turtles that you find, and there are columns for all of the same information that you would have provided us with in the app, so we'll still get the same information. The only thing is when you get home, if you're going to do it this way, you need to then upload it into the WordPress form that night, so it just means more work for you after the fact. And it also means that you need to have a GPS unit or a smartphone with a GPS unit downloaded, so you can't completely get away with not being able to use technology at all, because we still need the GPS coordinates for each turtle record. So if at all possible, definitely easiest to use the Turtle Guardians app. If you need any help with navigating that app or where to download it, which is just in the Google Play Store or the Apple Store or whatever that place, the App Store. I'm an Android user. And wherever you usually get your apps, you can find the Turtle Guardians app. But definitely reach out to us if you are having any difficulty with that, or if you'd like some extra help navigating that app. So I'd like to show you how to fill the survey report form out. One member from your group needs to fill out this form after every single road research trip. So I just wanted to show you how to find the form and how to fill it out. So right now we're on the turtleguardians.com homepage. We're going to go to volunteering, then scroll down, go to road researchers. Then we're going to choose the option Road Researcher Tools and Reporting. We're going to click, and that's going to bring us to our page of Road Researchers Tools and Reporting. This is where basically, this is kind of like the place where you can find all your resources. So we've got our webinars here, a quiz here that you can take after this training. And then here are our main reporting forms. So these are the ones that you can print out and bring into the field with you. These are the ones that you're going to be filling out online. So this is the one, Road Researcher Online Reporting Form. This is the one that you're going to, every single group is going to be filling out each trip. Each group member doesn't need to fill it out. Only one group member needs to fill it out, but it needs to be filled out for every trip because that's the way that we get the data that you've collected. So we'll click that link. And this form is basically just going to help us capture the data that you weren't able to enter into your Turtle Guardians app. So your volunteer ID is basically an ID number or name that you've created for yourself on your registration form. So let's say my volunteer ID was this. I went out today And I went this morning, let's say. So I went at 8:07 a.m. Remember, we want to be really specific with the exact time that we start and finish. And I ended at 9:12 a.m. I did a walking survey. I did see turtles. I didn't see any snakes. I wasn't doing a driving survey. I was doing a walking survey, so that's not applicable to me. I did see a predated nest, and I'm not doing any wetland scanning, so I'll say nope, not applicable. So you would answer all these questions. Pretty straightforward. We're going to press next. Now it's going to take us to the next section. So you can kind of see along here, this is the order. So it'll take you, so the first section, general info, is required. All of these you only need to fill out if it applies to you. So I didn't see any snakes, so I don't have to fill this out. But if I did, I would put in my GPS coordinates, which you would, this is all just you're copying from the form that you filled out in the field. So this is just nothing new. You're just copying what you already wrote down on your field sheet. So put in my GPS coordinates if I needed to. I would pick the snake species that I saw, pick whether it's alive, injured, or dead, pick whether it was on the road or rolled shoulder. Again, this is all information that you were prompted to write down in your field data sheet, so it's no new information. You don't have to remember anything, you just have to copy. So here, was it basking, crossing the road, nesting, or other? If it was other, you can describe it in additional notes. If there's anything else that you want to tell us about, you can write it here. And then if you're able to get a photo, you can upload it here. Say you saw multiple snakes, what you would do is you would add another entry. So you would click add, and then you can add as many snakes as you want. I'm gonna go next. So I didn't have any snakes, so I don't need to fill that out. So it's not required. You can press next and go to the next one if you don't have any snakes. For this one, this is if you were on a driving survey and you were not able to pull over for a turtle and you still want to tell us about that turtle, this is where you can do that. So you can describe the location as best as possible. If you were able to drop a pin, for example, when you were driving by, you can include those coordinates, or you can just simply describe as best as your ability where that turtle was along the road. You can tell us what species you thought it was. You can tell us what state you thought the turtle was in. If it was on the road or rolled shoulder, and what you thought the turtle was doing. Pretty straightforward again. You can give notes for why you couldn't pull over if you want. You don't have to. And then you're probably not going to be able to get a good photo because you weren't able to stop, so we don't include a photo here. Again, if there's more than one, you can press add and add more entries for as many as you want. If you make a mistake, you can remove it and start again. The next section, optional section, if it applies to you, would be your predated nest. So we said we did see a predated nest, so I would be filling this out. I would be filling in my GPS coordinates, which again, don't have to remember, I have that on my form. Were there any viable eggs left? So no, I didn't see any eggs that were still able to hatch. So viable eggs means eggs that are still intact. There weren't any. There were only egg remnants and pieces of eggshells. The shape, okay, it looks like they were ping pong round. Or it looks like they were oval, or you can't tell, which is fine. This is one that we did want to select a photo for, or take a photo of, which you would have been prompted for on your form. So I would upload my photo, and then the last section is wetland scanning. So I wasn't a wetland scanner, so I wouldn't be filling this out, but if I was, it would be filling out the coordinates that I have on my form for each wetland. So those are taken at the center of the wetland along the road. So not this actual center inside the wetland, but you're going to approximately the middle of the wetland on the road. And you're going to take coordinates there. It doesn't have to be that precise. Then you're going to say I saw a snapping turtle. I can say, let's see, I saw 3 and they were all swimming. I can do that. And then if I want to write any additional notes I can include photos. What you don't want to do is, say I saw 3 turtles and they were doing different things. I would do a different entry for each turtle that's doing something different. So if they're all doing the same thing, I can lump them all together in the same entry. For example, a good thing that example of this would probably be that you'll see a lot of painted turtles basking. So let's say I saw 10 painted turtles basking. I can definitely lump all those together. You don't need to do 10 different entries for that. But say you saw 10 painted turtles basking and 1 painted turtle swimming. You're going to add another one for your painted turtle that was swimming. And you can just copy and paste your coordinates from this one to the next one because you'll still be in the same wetland. Okay? Yeah, and then you would submit it and you'd be done your form. Awesome. So here I'm just going to show you where to find the online form that you would need to fill out if you are not using the Turtle Guardians app. So I would come to the turtleguardians.com homepage, go back to Road Researchers, go back to Road Researchers Tools and Reporting. And right underneath the form that we just looked at is the form for online turtle observations. You only need to fill this out if you recorded your turtle observations by hand on a piece of paper. If you use the Turtle Guardians app, we automatically get your data and you don't need to do this every week. So this is where you find it. You're going to click it. You would put in that ID number again or name. And then for every single turtle, you need to put in the GPS coordinates. You're going to select the species of turtle, the state of turtle, the behavior of the turtle, the location of the turtle, additional notes, and you're going to upload your photo. This is the exact same information that you would be inputting using the Turtle Guardians app. So it's much easier for you and us if you do use the app, because then you don't have to come in and fill this out. It's already done when you're on your road research survey trip, but if you would prefer to do it this way, that's all right too. For each one, you're going to, after you've done one, you're going to press add, and then you're going to get to do another one. And you have to do that for all the turtles that you find. And then at the end, you would press submit.